Hey guys, this is Suzanne here. It's week 4 of the SBF Be Your Best You Transformation Challenge, and I am super excited because I have my new friend here, Jonathan Bailor, author of The Smarter Science of Slim and the upcoming book, The Calorie Myth. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, Suzanne. It's a pleasure.
I'm so excited because your book really changed my life, my husband's and my life, and I have been a huge fan of following health and fitness trends for years, but something about your book changed the way we ate. So I really want to talk to you about why that is and what was different about your book. So first of all, how did you get your start? Welcome. How
Well,
did you
thank
get
you,
your
thank
start?
you. My start dates back more than 15 years. I was a trainer, and the reason I became a trainer was, interestingly enough, I had the opposite problem most people had. I was abnormally thin. I was an abnormally thin person, and we sometimes forget that there are millions of people who are naturally thin, and that's
Right.
kind of a fascinating thing, like what makes them naturally thin. But I became a personal trainer because I wanted to learn how I could manipulate my body and help others manipulate theirs. But I learned really quickly that, first of all, the vast majority of my clients didn't have the same problem I had. They had the opposite problem. They were trying to get smaller while I was trying to get bigger. And the vast majority of them were women over the age of 35. And I was doing everything that I was taught by conventional, I was a personal trainer, I was an expert, I read all the magazines I could, all the kind of mainstream media I could, and told my clients to eat less and exercise more, while I was consuming about 6,000 calories a day and eating less than they were. And they didn't get smaller and I didn't get bigger. And it it caused them so much emotional pain and me emotional pain in response, because they were coming to me oftentimes paying thousands of dollars, dedicating hours of their time away from their families, away from their passions, away from their hobbies, and they would end up worse than they started. And anyone who's in the business of helping people, if you see that you're making people worse, it becomes a moral obligation to figure out how you can better serve people. So I'm a pretty geeky guy. My background is also in software as a senior program manager at Microsoft, so I have this innately geek tendency. So the reason I mention that is I spent about 12 years at that point. I stopped being a personal trainer and I started just being a hardcore researcher. And I'm fortunate enough to have two parents, both of whom are college professors. So I had access to research that you just don't have access to unless you go to universities and have these 50,000 subscriptions to academic libraries and actually just dig into this first-hand research. And about 10,000 studies later, well, now it's probably more like 12,000, and about 12 years of just calling researchers, talking with them, this I discovered a startling disconnect between what I was taught as a trainer and what the first-hand scientific research that really no one other than scientists talk about has proven. And that when you see that much of a disconnect, and you know there's so much suffering, and you know, like, look around, what we're doing isn't working. We've been trying harder and getting sicker. So I just, now it's my whole life is just spreading this science.
Well, you're doing a great job of it. I'm
Thanks.
really excited because I think the thing that I found about your book that I had read the South Beach diet and we had done that before, and Levi and I, my husband Levi and I are we're thin, but if you look at my family, they're not necessarily, it's not in my genes
Mhm.
necessarily to be thin. So that's also something, and then I've had many clients, and many clients get great results. But the whole calorie deprivation or eat less, portion control really doesn't work. So can you tell me, like, what's making us fat? What kind of, just in a nutshell, in a quick nutshell, what's making us fat?
The quickest nutshell possible is, think about what's making us fat, like what gives you allergies. Like if you breathe in and start sneezing and your eyes are watering, the answer isn't to breathe in less and breathe out more.
Right,
The answer is to not breathe in the allergens which are causing your respiratory system to freak out and
right,
dysfunction. Similarly with food, it's not that we're over consuming calories. In fact, we are over consuming calories, but in accordance to calorie math, we should each weigh about 1,100 pounds now over the
yeah,
past 30 years, considering how
yeah,
many calories we've consumed. The issue is We're consuming things that are edible, but are not what our body is designed to digest. And just like if you put kerosene in your car's gas tank, like it won't break immediately. Like if you put 90% gasoline and 10% kerosene, your car will run. It might run for 50,000 miles, but then at 51,000 miles, it'll just start sputtering and you'll be like, well, what happened? I didn't hit a pothole. I didn't run over anything. But It's because there's been this chronic consumption of things that are edible, but are not what we're supposed to eat. Another silly example, right? Goats can eat aluminum. Like they can eat that.
Right.
We can't. Cows can eat grass. We can't eat grass. We can't digest cellulose. What we're discovering is we cannot digest 40 to 60% of what most Westerners get their calories from. And that's going to cause disease. And obesity is one of them.
So tell me some examples of those, because I have an idea of what they are since I've read your book. I feel like this is such great information. This is really going to help the people that are doing the challenge and also the people that follow me that need to know this. Can you give us just a few examples of some of those?
And overriding, this is why the title of my next book is The Calorie Myth, because we're led to believe that it's just calories, right? Like as long as you eat 1,400 calories, you'll lose weight and you'll be fine.
Right.
And that is not the case long term.
Absolutely.
So, but anything, so it's not about calories. It's as simple as saying, if you can't find it directly in nature, like there's no such thing as a bread bush or a Cheerios tree, and no one eats sugar cane. Like if you wanted to chew on a sugar cane, you could, but sugar isn't found in nature. So if you cannot find it directly in nature, there's a good chance it will make you sick.
Wow, that's great. That's very, very good information. So I think the greatest example was when I read in your book how the calories in a piece of bread compared to the same amount of calories in broccoli, the amount of broccoli that you would eat was so much more than the piece of bread, just because there isn't a bread tree, there isn't a bread bush, but people think they need to eat bread. They need that whole grain. And why is that? Why are we believing this? Can you just tell me why, please?
Whole grains have some nutritious things in them. For example, they do contain fiber. They do. Right. They also contain certain minerals. And whole grains contain more fiber and more minerals than refined grains. However, that doesn't mean they're healthy. It means they're better for you than refined grains. Bit of a morbid analogy, like heroin is worse for you than nicotine, but that doesn't make nicotine good for you.
Right.
So we get trapped in this mythology of yes, one broken leg is better than two, but that doesn't mean you want to have one broken leg or pursue one broken leg, because just take fiber. You remember this from the book. Yes, whole grains have up to 100% more fiber than refined grains, but non-starchy vegetables, like things you put in salads, things you can eat raw, have 50 times more fiber than refined grains.
Yes. So that's what we should be filling our plates with, right? So we should be filling our plates with stuff that we could pick off a tree, or what about the root vegetables, like pulling out of the ground? Like, tell us like some of those. Like, can you just give us in a nutshell like what our plate should look like with root vegetables, with vegetables above ground, and then proteins?
So 50% of your plate should be vegetables that grow above ground.
Okay.
I actually like to think about it as vegetables you could eat raw.
Okay.
To me, that's actually the best classification. Can you eat it raw? Like you can't eat a potato raw.
Right.
You can't eat corn raw, but you can eat mushrooms raw, spinach raw, cucumber raw, asparagus raw, broccoli raw, all that kind of fun stuff. Okay. You don't have to eat it raw, but you could. That's half your plate minimum.
Okay,
Then
great.
a third of your plate is nutrient-dense protein.
Right.
Nutrient-dense is important, like Spam, bologna, hot dogs. That's not nutrient-dense protein. And in fact, a lot of things that people call protein, Suzanne, as you know, are not good sources of protein. They're not necessarily bad for you, but they're not good sources of protein. Take an egg. An egg is 65% fat.
Right.
How can something that is 65% fat be a good source of protein? It's a good source of fat.
Right.
Same thing with like beans and nuts and even most dairy products. They get the vast majority of their calories from things other than protein.
Right.
So that doesn't make them bad. It just doesn't make them our primary sources of nutrient dense protein. Our primary sources of nutrient dense protein are seafood, first and foremost, whenever possible, and then like wild caught and not poisoned whenever possible, and then grass-fed beef, free-range poultry, non-toxic animal products, and then low sugar dairy such as Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are the really the only foods that get the majority of their calories from protein.
That's interesting to note, because I have a lot of people that follow the vegan diet, or at least vegetarian.
Yep.
So I know that there will be some comments about this, but I think what you're saying is that you're just classifying this third of the plate as the protein. Most of the calories come from protein versus carbs or fat.
Exactly. So, and it's not a judgment. It's nothing about like these other foods are bad. It's just mathematically, a food has to have more calories coming from protein than anything else to be called a source of protein. Otherwise, it's a source of fat or a source of carbohydrate.
Well, that's really great. What's the other part of the plate?
So the remaining third is going to be low fructose fruits or whole food fats. So when we talk about whole food fats, we're talking about nuts and seeds, or things like eggs, or even some cheeses. So when we talk nuts and seeds, especially things like avocado, cocoa, coconut, macadamia nuts, things like that. When we talk about low fructose fruits, generally it's berries and citrus. Those are going to give us the most of what we need: vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and the least of what we don't, things like fructose.
Right. Well, I am super excited because you got this new book coming out. And I'm recommending this book even before I've read it, The Smarter Science of Slim, because I watched my husband. I mean, I'm a lean person. I've been lean for, besides my pregnancies, and I was even, reasonably lean through my pregnancies, but I have had to lose weight after having children. But when we applied your program and your methodology to our diet, we saw like an effortless ability to lean out.
Yep.
And it was never about denial. It was all about what we could have. It was about nutrient dense plates of food, and we felt great. It wasn't about, you can't have this, deny. So I'm super excited because the next book, The Calorie Myth, this is going to be a little bit more about what to eat, correct? Can you give us a little information?
Preview? Think of the Smarter Science of Slim as a 6-track, independently produced album. It was great, people liked it, and it was wonderful, but it then gave us the opportunity to go in the studio with the world's greatest producer, like a Dr. Dre, and record an 18-track double disc. It's fabulous. So anything that you liked about the Smarter Science of Slim, if you like the discussion of the set point, we go way deeper into that. If you like the discussion of sane foods, we explain that a lot more accessibly. If you like the discussion on hormones, again, the accessibility is dialed up. And then we take so the book is basically in thirds. The first third is why you should stop thinking about calories, why it is just like irrelevant. It's like measuring intelligence by eye color. Like it's just it has nothing. So stop thinking about calories. Second third of the book is why these myths came to be. Like, what if this is so obvious and so true? Why isn't it common knowledge? So we got to explain that. And then the third part of the book is a 5-week program that takes you through recipes and an exercise routine and like grocery lists and exactly what to do to apply this Smarter Science of Slim.
I love it. Well, I'm really excited. I do have to pick your brain one more time because you've mentioned the exercise thing. And I'm so excited about your book. It sounds like the perfect companion for, the people that follow my exercise programs, because I know that you and I share this belief that we don't have to kill ourselves in the gym, okay? Or the mindless treadmill.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your philosophy on exercise, because I know for me, undoing what we've believed for years about burning more than you take in, burning it off. It just isn't true. So tell me a little bit about your philosophy on exercise.
So I hope you have a few minutes because I want to get into this a little bit. So first and foremost, we got to stop thinking about calories, because when we think about calories, we make this biological fallacy, which is thinking that if we eat a cupcake that has 100 calories in it, we can go do X amount of exercise that burns 100 calories and we're good. Think of that like someone saying, hey, I just smoked 2 packs of cigarettes, but I'm going to go do 20 minutes of cardio to cancel it out. Cool? Doesn't work that way, right? Like cigarettes damage your respiratory system, and these edible products like processed starches and sweets and trans fats, they potentially permanently damage your metabolic system like cigarettes damage your respiratory system. So that's why we got to get away from calories. We've got to start thinking about hormones instead.
Okay.
Because hormones are the lever we can influence to change our set point or the weight our body seeks to balance us at, right? We all know that every biological organism on the planet tries to maintain balance. Think about your blood sugar, for example. If you cause your blood sugar to go up, your body works to bring it down. If you take it down, the body works to go up. If you drink a lot of water, you go to the bathroom more. If you drink a little water, you go to the bathroom less, right? Body's always working to balance you out. Same thing with your weight. But your body can get confused as to how much fat it should hold because it stops being able to sense certain hormones. So you get inflammation in your brain, you get destruction of your gut bacteria, you get hormonal dysregulation, and now your body's like, what's going on? And it hangs on to fat because it doesn't understand what's happening. So with exercise, we say, how can we use exercise to clear that hormonal clog? And the way we do that is we think of what movements cause a hormonal release in our body. Walking around is a very easy thing to do. Right. It doesn't cause this big, magnificent hormonal reaction in our body. It's a simple action. However, when we do short bursts of very safe and very intense exercise, and to be clear, a lot of people are not able to do things like sprinting. So this doesn't mean sprinting. You can use resistance, just like some people use speed to increase the intensity of exercise. But just like food, exercise is about hormones, and if you want to manipulate your hormones, you manipulate the quality of your eating or exercise, not the quantity. Right. So it's just flipping. It's saying, think about hormones, think about quality of food and quality of exercise. Don't think about calories and the quantity of food and the quantity of exercise. So it's shorter bursts of very safe, sustainable, higher intensity exercise.
Right. Well, that's great. And that's definitely my philosophy. And, one of the biggest things that I cannot take is and I'm not SPF challengers. If you've asked me this, just because you've been conditioned to, but wear the heart rate monitors and they're like, oh, how many, or they'll write me and say, how many calories will I burn in one of your 15-minute workouts? And I'm like, it's just not about that. It's so not about that. And because what that does is it makes us think, well, if I burn that many calories, if it says that, which is probably inaccurate anyway, I can go have this, or I can fill up because I'm still going to be in a deficit, but then they don't see results. Yeah. So this is huge, and it is about quality. It's about form, having great form, and I believe that connecting the mind to the body with really great, intense mind-body movement, you feel different when you finish a workout. You should feel energized and ready to conquer the world, and not completely shagged and depleted and feeling, and then not getting those results that you're after. So this is really great information. I thank you. It's very early in the morning when we're recording this, and I'm so honored that I can introduce you to people that trust me as their trainer, and I am so excited to read your new book. I'm thrilled, and I am going to be recommending it from the rooftops. So,
well, thank you so much.
Is there anything else you want to add, or you?
Well, just regarding the exercise and calories, really quick, because I hear similar things, and there's just a few sound bites that are really helpful for people sometimes, and that's. Remember, and you can learn more about this when you read The Calorie Myth. Let's say you do burn 200 calories. Your body is going to do everything in its power to balance that out.
Right.
So think about it. Like when you exercise more and you sweat more, you drink more. Like your body makes you recover the water you lost. So you may burn 500 calories, but you're going to be really, really hungry afterwards.
Right.
And if you're eating the wrong types of food, not only will you, first of all, you'll eat more than you burn because it's a lot easier to eat calories than it is to burn calories, right? And if you're getting them from the wrong sources, you'll cause that metabolic damage we talked about earlier. So you'll get an hour away from your family, and you'll end up eating a net positive calories anyway, and causing hormonal damage. No one wants to spend their life doing that.
No, and I think that what you're giving us is very useful information that we can apply to what we eat and the types of exercise that we do, so that we're not in this cycle of craziness anymore. We're not in this cycle of like this. It's almost like a hamster wheel of just something that doesn't work.
Yes,
We're running in this hamster wheel, and so we've got to change our thinking.
Yes.
We really have to accept that what we've been fed and what we've been told is incorrect.
And just remember the real simple logic, Suzanne. You can tell your clients this. Hopefully they'll like it in the video. Is that if we do what everyone else does, we'll get what everyone else has.
Right.
And look around. We don't want that. It makes sense that eating less and exercising more doesn't work, because look where it's gotten us.
Exactly.
And the subtitle of my book is How to Eat More and Exercise Less and Lose Weight and Live Better, which we're like, that's crazy. It's not crazy. If you want the opposite result, take an opposite approach. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne.
So fun. I'll see you soon.
See you then.
Hopefully.
Bye.
Okay.